Hey everybody, welcome to our webinar, the Retail AI Pulse webinar. This is a new thing for us. We're going to try something a little bit different, and we're going to do a lot of demonstrations and sharing with you for things. What's interesting is if you go to YouTube, all the guys doing demonstrations and stuff on YouTube, they all have their AI agencies that they're trying to sell. Well, we're not trying to sell, AI agency services or how you can grow your YouTube channel here, but we do want to show you real tools that can help your productivity in a huge way. And I guarantee you, if you use these tools and stay with us, it's probably going to be a total of an hour and a half to get through all of it. You will 10x your productivity here in a huge way. So we've got a distinguished group here today. I'm just going to go around here and thank our sponsors. First of all, Digital Wave and Lori Schafer is here. And then for Clarus, we've got Tony Chaplin and Michael Vestal. They're both co-founders. Tony is the managing partner and Michael is the principal AI operator. And then we've got Jerry, who's VP of Technology, and Lee, VP of Product Development for IHL. And of course, I'm Greg Buzek, President and Chief AI Officer for that. We have chat, and some of you have already found that over on the side. Use that. Tell us, are your brackets busted? Are you glad you're not in a TSA line? If you are in a TSA line, and doing this, we're hoping you get through before we do today. Are you happy for opening day? This is the best day of the year in Cincinnati, my hometown, with the Reds. And it's nice weather and they're having a blast. Just tell us where you are, who you're from, who you're rooting for, all that fun stuff. And we're going to get started. One big thing to think about with AI, and unfortunately too many stop, is that we have this J curve. Okay, so a J curve basically means that up front and for a significant period of time, you are literally going to slow down in productivity, that there's such a learning curve to learning tools and things that your productivity is actually going to go down. But then at the bottom of that, it starts to pick up, and then it is almost straight up like a J is. And we're fortunate with IHL, we have finally started to hit that curve within IHL after some significant time. And we just want to share that with you here. Now, we are going to go rapid fire through the retail case studies. There are going to be handouts, and Carl can throw that into the chat. The links to the slides, the handouts that have all these retail case studies, as well as cheat sheets on all the things we're going to share today. But we are going to rapidly go through all these case studies to get to the good stuff of doing the demonstration of the tools. So the big thing that's happening is obviously AI is massive and it's growing. Shelf intelligence is a big area of investment, and we're going to start off there. And there really is an early adopter benefit. We are seeing in our study how retail leaders outperform, that the early adopters are seeing 99% higher profit growth and sales growth 71% higher in terms of expectations for 2026. So there are massive benefits from these things, and it's really a rocket. The illustration I like to use is like kind of getting through New York City to LaGuardia Airport. There are a few retailers that are through the toll booth because they've been investing for a long time. They're on the Long Island Expressway and they're going. They had already made it through the tunnel. The vast majority of retailers are stuck between 8th and 9th on 42nd Street in that bumper-to-bumper traffic because their data's not good and it's not working and all that stuff, and they got to keep going backwards there. So I'm going to start off with inventory intelligence and just show you some of the case studies here. And we're going to go really fast, seven different groupings. We're probably going to go through about 25 of these case studies, and we're going to go. And I'm going to highlight 4 here on this page. Kroger and Corvus Robotics. I'm going to give you 2 from Corvus that I think are phenomenal here. They just introduced the first drone that works in freezers. It can go into 20 degrees below zero, eliminating manual counts. The main thing of this was, which is crazy, is no infrastructure modifications are required. The drones tap directly into the warehouse system, and then Kroger progressed from initial validation to full operational deployments in like very short time. Similarly, at Dermalogica, which is a Unilever warehouse, they are using overhead drones to scan warehouses. The warehouse there, they are basically saving 120 hours a month labor as that is going through there. I don't know if it's Boggy Milano, Bogie Milano. I don't know how to say it here.
Oh, you don't
But
shop
they've got
there.
RFID in there from our friends at Zebra and are up to 99% inventory accuracy. There's a couple other data points on that as well. Basically, they've eliminated a 25 to 35% gap in actionable data there. So that just eliminates all those errors and allows for that omni-channel thing to go forward. And then the last one I want to highlight here is Nestle USA. They're using the SAP HANA system, and they were able to reduce spare parts search time by 50%. But what's crazy is this system overall has achieved a 75% cost reduction and 70% faster delivery that they were able to do. And so that's not the only ones. We've got more case studies here. Relex alone had 6 that came out in the first
Wow.
quarter. Those are all in the handout. And I'm going to turn it over to Jerry now to talk about Frictionless.
Outstanding. Yes. Love Frictionless. Just was absolutely amazed the first time I saw this demonstrated privately uh, at the mothership in Seattle by Amazon. But, one of the cool things about Frictionless that I think you can highlight here is that Frictionless really has now quietly kind of found its home. And that's probably really not, and it can still be used in grocery, but grocery is really not the main use case that we're seeing here. It's really in a much higher margin, fast moving, a lot of hospitality. Really, where speed is everything, and it kind of had its coming out party in Italy for IFI at the Winter Olympics. I mean, talking about the stage of all stages, um, you know, and from what we've understood, it absolutely did great. So not only did they have a deployment there at the Winter Olympics in Italy, but they also had their Co-op Live arena in Manchester just went live with an autonomous cashierless market event. And not to think, I know there's been, kind of the hey, Just Walk Out is dead from Amazon. That's absolutely not the case at all. It's just finding its home kind of in different places. We see that at the University of California Irvine campus at their Quick Eats location. We see it deployed there again. Lunch, fairly narrow window, oftentimes between classes. Again, fast food, much higher margins. It's finding a great home there. And I think another really interesting point to highlight here is that with Just Walk Out, people kind of think, oh, it's just expensive cameras, a high capital investment. But I really love the fact that for the Just Walk Out RFID, that was a portable setup. So it kind of goes to demonstrate that not only can the technology be very accurate, but could also be set up very quickly and employed very quickly. Next.
That'd be me. Yep. Can't talk about supply chain without talking about Walmart. I live in South Florida, so for the past 20 years or so, I've seen them pre-positioning trucks full of goods and supplies prior to hurricane arrival. They've been doing that for about 20 years. They do the same kind of thing up north for winter storms. What's different now is that they're using AI to enhance the pre-positioning and also to reroute trucks that are en route to some other locations so they can bring those goods and supplies to a place that's going to be harder hit. So that's a big deal. One of the other things they're doing is they've got 4,000 and some stores in the country. One of them to be an MFC, a micro fulfillment center, and they're applying robotics and automation and so forth and so on to bring that about. And I guess the biggest is that this is a clear signal to mid-market retailers. You need to get on board with AI forecasting in some form or fashion. Otherwise, you're just going to be swamped. Canadian Tire, this is kind of cool. They partnered with Microsoft, and using Azure as a platform to detect demand occasions. It's not a matter of stacking high and letting it fly. They're spring flood thaws. They're talking about back to school. They're talking about autumn harvest, things like this that are happening local to the so that they can help improve the stock position in the store during that time. One of the cool quotes I found was serving the occasions of people's lives. That's their go-to phrase right now. It's not stack it high and let it fly. This is addressing supply chain here. They're also doing the same kind of thing for personalization. We'll get to that in a later slide. Next slide, please. And then these guys, the folks that you see here, the Baudelet is pretty interesting. It's a French agribusiness, and they are one of the Relex announcements that's occurred in the past month or so. And basically, this unifies demand, supply, production, and distribution. It's all on one platform. So there's no latency between the four, and the amount of errors are reduced significantly. And this is across 113 distribution centers, 20 countries, and 10,000 SKUs. And this is not just retail, it's also enterprise food production at scale. Back to you guys.
Before we get started, just to let you guys know, every one of these case studies has come out since NRF. This is not old stuff. Go, Jerry.
That was a long time ago.
The key thing to note here, again, the pace of change is crazy. And it's funny, as we had our NRF brief, some of the things that I thought were going to happen with Agentic are happening even faster than I had anticipated. I thought I was being bullish. And, what we're actually seeing here in Agentic really highlights that. And what we're seeing, we had Google, they announced their UCP, the new standard, to help accelerate commerce within chat, actually, AI chat interfaces. And that's actually what's happening here, is that we're starting to see stories where commerce is actually moving inside the AI interface, where a consumer actually never visits your website. Kind of the shot across the bow there is Loblaw. If you guys are not familiar, they're a Canadian grocer. Again, Canadian grocer, out in front, Canadian grocer. So again, not all innovation only happens in the United States, as we know, but basically you can browse, build meals, and complete the full purchase without ever leaving the ChatGPT interface. So
wait, I got to stop you there, Jerry, because I'm not sure any of this stuff is true with ChatGPT anymore. They may have just changed it yesterday. So everybody else, check your sources on this, but they just cut Sora and a whole bunch of this stuff, buying things or ads, at least ads through ChatGPT. That all went down last night. So just, par for the course.
I didn't see a press release. I know they killed Sora, but I didn't hear them killing this. So, again, it's changing daily. So it's like the stock market, up, it's down, it's up, it's down. Next slide. I think the key thing to highlight here is that agentic commerce is multi-category. You see Amazon Web, you see Authentic Brands, which is apparel, footwear. You see DoorDash, food, and again, Loblaw, which we talked about previously, which was grocery based. So agentic commerce is not isolated to a single retail vertical. It is actually across multi-vertical. And also deploying, you've got John Lewis over in the UK, you have Target and Williams Sonoma, etc. So this agentic interface where the influence of decisions, the actual decisions are being made, and the completion of the decisions is now being conducted actually inside the AI browser. So if you can hit the next slide, please. And what this talks about is some research and actually an internal piece that we just published to our advisory clients. And it's based upon a McKinsey piece of research that was published in late last year, where they estimate that in North America, the level of A2A commerce, agentic to agentic commerce, is expected to reach $1 trillion by 2030 in just the U.S., with an estimate that on a worldwide basis, that will be $4 trillion. We have some estimates here. The key thing is to look at the S-curve that we see here. That steep acceleration begins in 2027, and what this means is that, for me, I follow the OMS space, near and dear to my heart. And what's going to fundamentally happen is the performance requirements of your OMS are about to change significantly. But additionally, if you work in commerce solutions, you work in sales and marketing and merchandise supply chain planning, these are going to face the most immediate impact from A2A exposure. So what we would say is that vendors, if you're in these categories and you haven't really started thinking about agent-ready interfaces by 2027, you're at risk of really missing the boat. This stuff is coming far faster than I think even I thought in January. So put on, put on your goggles because it's moving fast.
All right. Next topic is giving better tools to the associates here. I'm gonna highlight 3 or 4 real quick. The Lowe's has got this new Milo platform that is used by associates as well as with customers. The engagement rate once they use that is 2 times that of the normal rate. So they're seeing some tremendous results. It has visualization capability, so you can take a picture of your bathroom and upload it, and it'll reimagine it for that. It'll allow you to adjust the lighting and check different lighting fixtures and all that sort of stuff. That conversion rate of 2 times there, we saw Rufus on the Agentic shopping side, $10 billion in the fourth quarter with Amazon with their Rufus. The second one here is this Burger King one. Now, the only thing you've heard of is that Burger King's listening in on their associates and that's the only thing that's made the news. The really cool part about this is literally like an AI assistant in your headset. So now when you need to change the printer paper or you need to change the drink cartridge in the store, they're seeing a 24 times improvement, a 2,400% improvement in the speed at which they can do things at the store level because they got this AI thing in their headset to do that. So that's really cool. I'm going to go to Walmart here. 1.6 million employees that they're training on AI, and it's not just their own AI. They're training 1.6 million workers on AI tools overall. One more to bring up here is California Pizza Kitchen. They replaced their legacy labor scheduling system in their 144 locations. The big one here is they actually reduced the variance between their actual and planned labor by 50%. For things. And the other thing that they now have is all the data is available in real time to everybody, including the employees that are working. They all have access to this app, and it's very quick that way. So with that, we're going to go to customer personalization, and that's back to Lee.
That's me. Costco. This is kind of interesting. They provided what is an AI recommendation carousel? Well, that's an AI powered product selection widget that's on their website and their app. Basically, a member puts something in the cart. This thing activates and suggests other products that you can add to the cart along with it. This has been that $470 million figure there. That is incremental over the previous quarter. That's a 22.6% jump in their online sales, and that's 3x their normal. So this is a big deal for those guys. Some of the things that is working with it's going hand in hand with their same day delivery stuff. So that's a big deal for those guys. Dine brands. This is IHOP and Applebee's. Basically, they've got this predictive recommendation engine. 60% customer adoption using their new online cloud POS system that came from Toast. That gives them a real-time data pipeline right into every one of their stores or every restaurants. 5,000 locations, 5,000 plus. And this is part of their digital transformation that's underway. It addresses their loyalty, their mobile ordering, and their kitchen management. Finally, Albertsons. This is their 4 big bets framework. Basically, they've got all kinds of digital customer experience, merchandise interface, and the other things that you see there. They're addressing all of these at the same time. Partners that they've got include Google, OpenAI, Microsoft, Databricks, and Symphony AI. Back to you, Greg.
Super. We're going to round it up with security. If you guys have been watching any of the basketball games for March Madness, you've seen the Simply Safe commercials with the dogs taking a break while Simply Safe takes care of this. That's kind of what's happening with interface systems at White Castle and Big Brand Tire and Service here. They've got White Castle is using this AI virtual power perimeter guard at their highest risk store in St. Louis. They saw a 91% reduction in perimeter security events. They got resolved automatically through AI detection and live voice deterrence. So just like the commercial there, so a 91% reduction. And late night escalation calls dropped from approximately once a week to zero. At Big Brand Tire, same thing. 91% of security events were resolved through automation. And overall, their security activations, getting human beings out there, dropped 65% within a week or two of deployment there as a result of doing that one. I did want to highlight two more. Tesco is wearing body cameras and Walgreens as well. They're both wearing, associates are now wearing body cameras, just like law enforcement is supposed to be doing, and ICE agents and all that fun stuff, without getting political. But the fact that our associates now have to wear body cameras in the stores tells you what's going on in a lot of our stores, particularly in inner city regions. And with that, that's going to be the end of our lightning round of retail installs. All of this is in the handout once again for things. And I'm going to turn it over to Lori, and Lori's going to talk about Digital Wave. Go ahead, Lori.
Alrighty, let me bring up my slides. Share screen, entire screen. All right, well, good morning, everyone. As Greg said, I'm Lori Schafer, CEO of Digital Wave Technology. First, I want to thank you guys at IHLGroup for hosting this webinar and inviting me. I'm really excited to be here. Greg, Jerry, and Lee, thank you for that. And I also want to just give a quick plug to my own team that made this really easy for me while I was traveling this past week. I just got in very late last night. Dan Mitchell, Sarah Meza, Oleg Sidorkin, Arkady Gurovich, and our chairman, Bernie Brennan. You guys are all amazing. Thanks for putting all this legwork together for me. At Digital Wave, we power the core engine of retail, product, and other master data. We give companies the clean fuel they need to run their business and to run AI. Digital Wave One, our AI native data management platform, continually manages and optimizes data and even lets teams modify the data model in real time. Built on this foundation, our MDM, our PIM system, and our merchandising solutions power some of the world's leading retailers and brands. Trusted, clean master data is what we're all about. AI is only as good as the data that fuels it. But over the past 18 months, something fundamental changed. And as the IHL gentlemen were saying, it is happening so fast. I showed this with Dan Mitchell to, I think, Jerry at NRF, and I can say everything has been completely obsoleted since then. Agentic AI doesn't just improve human decisions. It plans, it pursues goals, and it acts on results. But it must have clean data as fuel. And agentic AI also changes how software itself is built. And I'm excited to show you that today. That realization led us to rapidly agentify Digital Wave, our entire business, and create something entirely new, an agentic AI operating system for the enterprise. We call it WaveAgent. For 30 or 40 years, companies have been buying and more enterprise software, ERP, planning, pricing, in-store, supply chain, data lakes, custom integrations, and so on. And every time the business changes, IT has to respond. Evaluating with countless RFPs and selection committees, it is really slow, it's expensive, and it's never ending. But what if your IT team and even your business teams could build the software they need, or with the help of a software consultant, do it rapidly, directly on your enterprise data with high security and user-based access? That is what WaveAgent makes possible. WaveAgent is an agentic AI operating system that sits on your enterprise data. Users describe what they need, and WaveAgent builds real production-ready applications, not prototypes. Systems with business logic, data models, UIs, full audit trails, governance, and full security built in. The platform sits on a data engine. It connects not only to Digital Wave's One platform, but also to popular data lakes, to MDM, to other PIMs, to merchandising and marketing and supply chain and ERP systems, and any other packaged software that your teams use. And it allows both IT teams and business users to quickly create dashboards, full software applications, automations, workflows, and decision intelligence without having to build or buy traditional software. WaveAgent automatically understands the structure of your data, the relationships within it, and it allows you to interact with that data in natural language while building real enterprise software. Think of it this way. Your trusted, clean master data is the fuel, and WaveAgent is the operating system that runs on that fuel, allowing humans and AI to operate the business. Now comes the fun. I want to show you a few real use cases from our customers. WaveAgent built this first tool, and I'm going to start with a very simple example. Retailers and brands oftentimes receive product information from vendors in multiple formats. PDFs of catalogs, spreadsheets, emails, you name it. One item can turn into dozens of SKUs. For example, this moisture wicking branded t-shirt or even a flavor of soup can turn into dozens of SKUs for each color, size, flavor, and sometimes even further variations. All of that has to be entered into a PIM or item creation system. This same process happens every single day in thousands of companies around the world, and it's very slow. A retail customer of ours that sells athletic apparel across thousands of schools spent over 40 hours extracting data for 19 items from a vendor PDF catalog. Over 40 hours for 19 items.
Wow.
They rekeyed it into Excel, and then they loaded it into their PIM for item create. Once expanded by colors, sizes, schools, and designs, those 19 items became over 3,600 SKUs in their system. That's what took all the time. So over 40 hours, one person, 1 week to enter that data. But with WaveAgent, we built them a very quick enterprise application that reads PDF files. In this case, it reads their digital catalogs from all of their vendors. What you can do then is import that PDF file. It reads the catalog. It extracts that data. In this case, this is running live. It's a 72-page catalog, so it's going to take a little bit of time. But relative to the 40 hours it took before, you'll be able to see it on screen live. And it should take about a minute, and then you should see all of the cleaned data, and it will literally roll out into the 3,600 and some odd SKUs.
Wow.
And we're just about done. And we'll see that in just a second. Here we go. Drum roll, please.
Pretty zippy.
There we go. So now we have a review screen. And I'm just going to show you on another slide the review screen. And what this allows you to do now is to manually review. Humans want to review it themselves to make sure that all of the data is right. Does it fit the format that's needed? And it goes in and you're able to now see all of the 3,700 SKUs across all of the different schools, all of the different colors, all of the different sizes, all of the pricing, and so on. You can also go back and you can view, in addition to the detailed SKUs, in a second I'll show you how to view the actual source catalog just to make sure everything matches. What used to take 5 days now takes 5 minutes. And it adapts for various types of digital catalogs. It's not hard-coded. And this isn't a prototype. It's running today, and customers absolutely love it. And building the system itself, with WaveAgent, it took 2 hours.
Wow.
So that's one example. Let me move on to another example. I call this building enterprise software in a weekend. This is really unbelievable. During customer implementation we recently had, we discovered that the retailer wanted a very specialized merchandise planning application. Despite buying packaged software, they insisted on a very precise look and feel of the user interface and workflow. And even with our highly configurable software, we couldn't handle it without significant changes. Our R&D estimate for developers for 3 months, or in effect, 1 full year of effort to make the modifications they needed. Instead, one of our team members opened WaveAgent on a Friday night after feeding it a detailed specification and started automatically writing the code on the customer's Digital Wave 1 platform. And WaveAgent even did the QA, although we also let humans do the QA as well. And I'll take just quickly walk you through a little bit of this application as I'm speaking. It starts with financial planning. And you can see they wanted a very precise user interface. We got it down to every single look and feel of every keystroke they wanted. And again, Friday evening and by Saturday morning, our customer-facing team was already testing it.
Wow.
They then iterated for 5 evenings, Monday through Friday of the following week. And after a week, they passed it to the customer for user acceptance testing. The customer, again, was thrilled. This took less than a week to do, and that's no exaggeration. That is the power of the WaveAgent AI operating system connected to real-time secure product master data.
That's impressive.
And lastly, I'll show you one last example. We like to call it Control Tower. And this, to me, is one of the most exciting parts of WaveAgent. What Control Tower allows you to do is it delivers real-time insights and recommendation actions far beyond what humans can process across all variables. Imagine starting your morning with a live dashboard that can process everything across your enterprise that you have access to. Your sales, your margin, your inventory, your ability to immediately course correct with this real data. WaveAgent can also connect to your email, your Teams chats, your Slack, your product data, your supply chain data, your ERP. WaveAgent analyzes everything in real time. And instead of static reports, it tells you what matters most for you to do today and the required actions. A merchandiser sees product issues, a supply chain leader sees inventory risk, a CFO sees the financial plan and can check cash flow, and a CEO sees the highest priorities across the entire company. Really amazing stuff. The impact of WaveAgent is clear. Organizations can now build and evolve software at the speed of their business. What once required months of development, expensive integrations, and complex BI tools can now be done in hours and days. We consistently see between a 10x and a 500x speed improvement and productivity improvements. And that means something profound for the future of enterprise software. Companies will buy fewer rigid systems and instead move to flexible enterprise data schemas and build more of the software that makes them unique. For decades, we built software the slow way. Agentic AI systems like WaveAgent changed that. Now companies can think of a need for software and build it in days on their own data or in concert with a domain expert consultant. We're at the dawn of an agentic AI era, not AI that answers questions, but AI that acts, AI that builds, AI that runs major portions of your business. The enterprises that embrace this shift now won't just be faster and more efficient, they will be fundamentally different. And that difference will define the winners of the next decade. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lori. All right, guys, now we are going to switch to NotebookLM. So NotebookLM is a tool from Google. If you're not familiar with it, and I'm going to be looking sideways here to show all this stuff, but notebooklm.google.com is how you get to it. It was designed originally for students to create notebooks where they could do deep research on a topic. They could go in here and they could do fast research or deep research. You can enter in websites, you can upload files, you can have your Google Drive connected to it, you can copy and paste text. It does Word docs and all that sort of stuff to build it. One of the things that's very important, and I'm going to go back to another notebook to show you this, is it's important to go up here when you've downloaded all your sources, to go up here and tell it what the notebook is. Just it doesn't have to be long, but customize what your notebook is so you tell it, and it gives this the instructions. You've got 10,000 characters. This can be your master prompt of what this entire notebook is for, and that will determine every other activity that comes from NotebookLM. As well as there are a number of add-ins that make this incredibly helpful. So for instance, I've got a number of tools that I use. There's one called Bookshelf that does folder management, and some of these overlap each other. There's a NotebookLM web importer. My favorite, though, is this one right here, YouTube to NotebookLM. And you're seeing a notebook called Paul J. Lipsky. Paul is a master at things, but you can literally take somebody's entire channel If you have the paid version, which is 300 things, like I could go into this.
So they're essentially infinite.
Into this to Nate Jones's channel here, and if I wanted, I could go to all his videos and go to YouTube importer, and I could just pick and create a new, I could say Nate Jones for a new notebook, and it would import everything into that Nate Jones, and there they go. It starts importing all of those things in here. I am going to turn that off for right now and go back to Paul to show you the power of this. Now, you've probably heard all the audio overviews and all that stuff, slide decks, etc. I'm gonna show you a different notebook here that we did the other day just for fun, as we uploaded, and this is a how-to guide. Upload your design guide in here before you ask it to make slides. So I literally put the design guide for our own stuff in here and uploaded all the details. So some of these slides look familiar, right? Well, we took some of these slides straight from NotebookLM and put them into our slide deck as a result. So that is one that's good.
Wow.
The this one right here, oh, it's not showing. Let's reload it. Come on out. There it is. The blueprint. I'm going to show this tomorrow. So you can see these incredible infographics. You can do video overviews. You can do different things related to different stuff. You can do all that stuff here. Mind map is an incredible feature to do things here. But this is all inside NotebookLM, okay? And that's powerful in and of itself. But I'm going to show you what's really, really powerful is in Gemini itself. In Gemini, you can create anything that Gemini can do by using NotebookLM as a source. So if I wanted to build something on this Paul J. Lipsky notebook, I can build any content off of this now. And whether it's coding, vibe coding here, launch sites, etc. And I just want to give you an example of one that I've got complete here, which is literally Thrive and Joy. I uploaded their 990, which is their tax form, as well as an information thing. And it created an online dashboard to online volunteers. You know, everybody, every charity, every company has an event, gets everybody excited, and they say, hey, I want to help. Let's get involved. Well, this one shot did it. When are you available? Where are you based? What are you good at? Boom. Here's your matches, and here's how you can apply and volunteer right now.
Nice.
That was just all taken from a NotebookLM. Now, one of the notebooks that I created where I stole the whole thing was Joanna Wiebe. And Joanna here is an expert on messaging, you know, being very good in sales messaging and other things. And I wanted to copy her style. We can actually create gems in Gemini. You go into gems, and now inside of gems, I created a Joanna Wiebe gem. And this is something that you always have access to, which is automatically loaded up with that notebook. And you can put that thing there. Now, what's really crazy about NotebookLM is you can't use it with Google Docs right now directly. You can't export to Google Docs. However, if you create a gem based on that notebook, Google Docs allows you to use the gem inside of Google Docs. So this is a little hack for things here. I'm going to show you another hack of what I did with this Joanna Wiebe in particular as I go to the next one that I go through, but I'm going to turn it over to Tony. When we talk about Claude later, I'll show you how I created a Joanna Wiebe skill inside of Claude. So now Joanna's a part of my team, whether she knows it or not.
No cost hire. I love it.
Yeah, literally, she will be able to go through and look at all our stuff. So with that, I want to turn it over to Tony to talk about Clarus and their things, and then we're going to come back with a couple more examples. Just real quick, there are cheat sheets for this that go into a lot more detail than just 5 minutes that we can do this. So I'll turn it over to Tony. Tony, go ahead and share about Clarus. Let me stop.
Good stuff. My name's Tony Chaplin. I'm the managing partner with Claris AI, and I, along with my colleague Michael Vestal, will be presenting today. We're going to talk about things in two different segments. I'm going to take some time and go through Claris and our customer's journey into the AI world and how we've approached our work. Then Michael's going to do the fun part. He's going to actually get into some of the applications and show you, some real products that are out there that we have developed for our clients. Who are we? We are a consultancy that's 25 years old, been around for a long time, and our tagline is practical solutions for complex business problems. _practical. That's really in our DNA. We have deep experience. The next slide, Michael. deep experience in supply chain, logistics, warehousing, merchandising, store operations, and supporting systems, and more. Our work has been around business process improvement, redesign, merchandise flow, labor standards, large-scale systems, whether it's a selection, an implementation, or a rescue, and organizational change. And then a little over a year ago, we reinvented our company. We realized AI was the future in our consulting business, and it was creating a real impact in our space, so we leaned heavily into it. Michael, can you go to the next slide?
Is it not moving for you?
Yes, I still see that.
No.
I still see the intro slide.
Oh, okay. I've gone a few slides deep, so maybe I need to reshare. Apologies.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, while he's talking, I'll continue.
Yeah, Michael, you were in the straight PowerPoint, not the share screen. You got to share the screen. You got to do the PowerPoint first, the slideshow, and then share it, and then it'll show up. Perfect.
There we go.
Yep.
There we go. So we're on slide 2, and below the blue line there, that the shift into AI was a natural extension to the work that we do. So we're able to leverage years and years of consulting experience and problem solving using AI. We'll never do another consulting project like I did 2 years ago. It's all changed. And the opportunity set, we're really looking at inventory management improvement, labor, aggregating data for dashboards and visibility. And that last bullet is really important. It's getting access to data, which is critical. Others have mentioned that on this webinar. We've integrated with ERPs, WM, WFM, merge systems, automation systems, and more. It could be a replicated database, read-only access, APIs, even Excel spreadsheets or PDFs, if you've ever heard of those things. So our goal is to meet our customers where they're at. And on the right there, you see some of the real results. We use that term a lot. It's all about real results and getting the benefit of not only the consulting work previously, but now the AI work that we do. So the next slide, Michael, is our approach. I'll go through this quickly. There's all kinds of numbers out there. 70% of projects fail. I've seen numbers higher, but not because of technologies doesn't work. It's really around adoption and employees absorbing the change. So our approach is we lead with practical solutions. We typically start by solving the problem. What's causing the pain? Then we discuss it, resolve it collaboratively with our retail partners or partners, build a solution in days, not months or years. So we build that trust through results. Once they see what can be done, the quick results approach, that builds credibility and confidence in AI. And that creates excitement and a lot of possibilities. And they start looking at things differently through the lens of AI. And this last one, number 3, is really interesting. It's something that I really didn't expect to happen, but it's really cool. The interest in the results were so positive that stakeholders began using AI themselves. They realized the power of AI. We trained them. We worked on solutions together. And now we have AI common language in our relationships. When we collaborate on issues and brainstorm on problem solving, it's AI first. And that's really, really cool. Next one, Michael. I'm going to quickly talk about 2 different use cases, and then Michael's going to show you a little bit the tools themselves. So this is a national footwear retailer, about 350 stores. We started with one problem that we solved using AI. And again, once the possibilities are realized, the mind opens up more and more for use cases to address. Right now, we have 8 different use cases working for their one application. Just a couple of comments on them. Goods to person visibility. It's a real-time productivity for high automation of autonomous mobile robots. KPI agent dashboards. Everybody wants dashboards to see how they're doing. So we're providing that and monitoring the KPIs. The smart transfer one is kind of interesting. This is about inventory productivity, balancing inventory across store locations. So we created an analytical model that considers sell-through at each store, includes parcel shipping, handling costs, to move only goods if there's a positive margin impact. So you can see across the bottom, there's some of the benefits that we've realized working with that client. So the next one, Michael, it's an airport retailer operator, and we've been working in 2 spaces with them, the supply chain area as well as the retail stores. And through our AI initiatives, we built tools that provide productivity visibility so it can be managed, simplifying order management, provide the dashboard of KPIs pulling from different sources. Managing inventory and trigger values for read or improving the inventory position. So again, we solved the problem, we exposed the new possibilities, and then we've empowered the organization to start building solutions themselves. In this case, they're using Claude. And again, across the bottom, you see some of the real results that we've experienced here. And then finally, AI strategy. Before we get into the demos, we have evolved, and we know that there's a lot of uncertainty out there. And if we're being candid, fear. So what do we do? How do we start? So we've heard that in our travels, and we recognize the AI capabilities curve is outpacing the adoption curve. So we set out to create a strategy suite to help our customers and partners to understand where they are at today relative to AI. What are their competitors and vendors doing in the AI space? It'd be good to know how your suppliers are doing and what they're doing, keeping up. And finally, to create an actionable roadmap. So we created this 5-point AI strategy tool set, and Michael will show you just how one of those works, and then we'll go into live demos.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. So we'll start with that strategy piece here. I'll ask you guys to do a quick check to make sure that I'm showing everything I think I'm showing, since we had a little hiccup earlier. So you should be seeing a kind of a web browser here, and as I switch tabs, hopefully you're seeing me switch tabs as well.
Tabs, yeah, looks good.
Perfect. Okay, so this is our live strategy suite that Tony just referenced. Basically, in building this, my goal was to put together a suite of applications that you could hand over to an executive. They could take their team through these, which are a combination of like surveys, questionnaires, there's an intelligent voice agent. And at the other end, you could put together an AI roadmap for your organization. We hear from a lot of people, we know we need to do something with AI, but we don't know where to start. So our goal with this was to say, all right, take your organization through these things, and it'll help you identify where the best use cases are for your organization. We don't have time to go through all of these, but there's this one, which is a competitive intelligence. So if you come in here and you type the name of any company, and I'm going to use a brand that we'll all have recognized, that's all you have to do is just type in the name of the company. And then we go run deep research. So we're using AI, and we're basically prompting the AI in the background to look for specific things. And it says, okay, this company that you put in is in this industry, and here are their competitors. If I go through, this is what the output looks like. So it takes about 20 minutes to run, but it says, okay, here are all your competitors in your space and the ways that they are using AI and how you stack up against them. Wow. And if I scroll down a little bit more, if I open up any of these, you get a full report that's pages and pages long on each one of those companies. And that is one of 5 tools that are a part of this suite of applications. So wanted to show that. We know a lot of people are hearing things about AI and they want to get involved and they just don't know where to start. So this is a suite of applications we built to try and help executives get through that. Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit. And these next 2 things I'm going to talk through, and I'll fly through them, are basically the use cases that Tony mentioned in our slide deck. So I'm going to show you some of the applications that we built for our customers. As Tony said, our strategy is to lead with practical solutions. So we try to find a simple problem, solve that problem with AI, and then from there, grow the confidence within your organization, look for more problems to solve, look for more adoption. So this was that client that had some expensive AMRs. They had bought this goods to person picking system, which worked well, but they were lacking in reporting. And so this is basically a dashboard that we built that allowed them to see individual productivity in that goods to person automated picking system. Now, all the data is anonymized. This isn't this real person's name. And this isn't necessarily the task that they're doing. The SKUs and things are changed, but this is real data that's actually occurring. Essentially, what we're doing is we're using AI to anonymize the information as we're showing it to you all. But this is a real application that a client is using right now. And you can see I'm on Central Time. So this was an activity that this person performed just 3 minutes ago. So this is live data that's happening right now. Again, anonymized, but it is really happening. And each one of these tabs over here, this is what we started with, this build this dashboard that helps us see individual productivity. Every one of these tabs was a new use case that after they saw how quickly we could turn this around, they said, hey, can you do this for me? Can you do this for me? And we kept adding and adding use cases. One of them that I thought was cool was, again, we mentioned that goods to person automation. They didn't have great reporting out of it. So we helped them report on their individual productivity, but we also helped them report on what their AMRs were actually doing. So the actual robots in the system that have varying tasks. And our hope is over time, we can see utilization rate for the bots themselves, what types of tasks different bots are doing, and how that can lead to maintenance failures. Maybe some bots are being used more often, so we might need to do some more preventative maintenance on those. The other part was that there are parts of this database that, because it's a Chinese company that they purchased this robotics from, parts of the database were literally in Mandarin. So we're using AI not only to pull this information, but to literally translate into English, and so that they can, understand the fault codes and things that are going wrong with their bots in real time. This last use case I'll show for this client was they've got all this database of information. We're actually connected to 3 different systems here: their merchandising system, their picking system, and their warehouse management system. But they have very few people in their organization who have the tools and capability to actually access those, who are trained in SQL or who can use their BI or data lake tools. So we built something really simple. Basically, we used our AI to understand all of those databases. And then you can come in here and just ask in plain English questions, and it'll basically translate questions to SQL and then give you simple answers. So how many containers did we ship today or this week? And you can misspell things, and that's fine. We'll pretend like I did that on purpose as a part of the demo. And it takes, just a few seconds. It queries a database, and then it'll come back with a real answer that says, here's what you've actually shipped. So basically just making data actionable very, very quickly and getting the right information into the right people's hands. A theme throughout this whole webinar is, AI is really, really good at coding. And so we're just kind of leaning into those tools. We feel like we're experts in using AI, and we're experts at understanding business problems. And so we're able to turn around these solutions really, really fast. So I'll show one more very, very quickly. This is a different client, again, a live solution that they're using every day that's been anonymized for this demo. They had a problem with understanding their in-stock and out-of-stock. So this is the second of the 2 that Tony took us through, the case study. And their original issue was, hey, we have all these different stores all around the U.S., and we have issues sometimes understanding exactly where we stand in terms of our in-stock and out-of-stock for all those different stores. And so we took that and went one step further. We said, okay, we can tell you what's in stock and out of stock, but we can also use AI to project demand, do some forecasting, and then tell you what your inventory levels should be. And so then we can say, not only are you in stock or out of stock, but where are you correctly stocked? Where are you understocked? And then this is an application that if I scroll up, has many, many tabs across the top again, because once they saw how quickly and how powerful you can build these tools, they just kept asking for more and more. So at this point, we've built multiple applications for both of these clients, and they've been great case studies. And as Tony mentioned, have even started to do some of this on. So that's it for us. Appreciate that. We've had a good time kind of taking our clients through some transformation.
All you.
Yeah, I think one of the really cool things there was just the rapid ideation from thought to, hey, let's create a real product in a pretty short period of time. So I think that's kind of one of the amazing sort of takeaways for me.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see.
So with that, I am hoping that, okay, are we able to see my
browser? Yeah.
You're able to see the browser. Great. So what I want to take you guys through is a tool that, when people talk to me about, hey, where should I begin in AI? One of the things I've found is that what helped me adopt it was to say, hey, what are the things that I don't like to do, or I'm honestly not good at, and can I figure out a way to use the tool to solve that problem? So I'm not naturally the most artistically gifted person in the world. It is what it is. So I would go to these conferences and I would see these beautiful presentations and go, wow, I really wish one of these days there would be a way for me to create such cohesive presentation. And now,
hey, we can create a Dave Bruno skill.
Dave Bruno skill. Okay, Dave Bruno skill. So the tool that I like to use is a tool called Gamma. And everything I'm going to show you today, I'm going to use I'm using the Comet browser, which is Perplexity's browser. I'm going to be working in Perplexity, and I'm going to show you Gamma. It's a tool for creating both Word doc and creating PowerPoint presentations. And what I'm going to show you today is available for free. I happen to be on a paid tier on both of them, but there will be all the capability that I'm going to show you today, something that you can actually access in the free tier. So what I want to do is to show you how to, so let's say I'm working in an employee of Digital Wave. And
wow, I recognize that.
You look, that looks really familiar, right, Lori? And let's say I wanted to create a slide deck based upon this overview of an engagement that Digital Wave had with one of their clients. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to plop that in right here. And I've kind of pre-articulated my prompt, and I'm gonna point it to, and again, because we're on a, let's see, it's not doing what it's supposed to, but that's normally what happens when you do a live demo, is that
Murphy.
it's definitely Murphy.
Murphy,
What's supposed to happen here,
he comes in every time.
it was supposed to reference this. So I'm going to grab that.
Just copy and paste that.
Yeah. So I've grabbed the URL. So I was trying to attach it as a reference link, and it did not like that. So what I've asked it to do is I said, hey, Lori, I'm temporarily working for Digital Wave, so I'm pretending right now.
I was going to say, I need to hire you.
There we go. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Sorry, Greg.
Jerry, hit enter. Let it work. Let it do its thing.
So I've got this prompt here. I work in the marketing department for Digital Wave. I want to build content based upon this website. I want to highlight that particular use case that I highlighted. So what it's now going to do is it's going to draft a slide deck, and it's going to create that draft for Gamma as a markdown file. Now, you don't have to understand what markdown files are, but it's kind of a common language that AI likes to see.
You need to understand what markdown files are, guys. It's just a text, because it is the language of AI, and that with JSON. But markdown files are text files that have a certain set of enhancements. You can have titles and subtitles, etc., like that, and bullets for organization. Think of it as WordPad. You don't have to know Word. You just need to know WordPad. In the old days. But yeah, you need to know what Markdown is. 2 Markdown editors while you're waiting for that. Typora is one, or you can use Obsidian, which I'm going to show you here in a second as part of Cowork.
So it's going to go create this, and through the power of having done this before everybody jumped on the call, I have that Markdown file. I've grabbed that Markdown file. So now I'm going to go to gamma.ai, and I'm going to select create a new Gamma. And I'm going to do paste in as plain text. I'm going to select the format that I want for my presentation. So I'm going to do 16 by 9. I'm going to now just paste my markdown file. I'm going to generate from slides or notes, and I'm going to continue to the prompt editor. And in the prompt editor, I'm going to select minimal. I'm going to select that as the title. I'm going to select illustrative as my output type. I'm not going to hit anything here, and then I'm going to hit the generate button. So what this is these are cards. On the free tier you can do 10. I'm on the paid tier so that I can do 20 at a time without adding a card after creation. And then I would hit the generate button, and if I hit the generate button, bam, through the power, literally if I hit the generate button right there, it would take it about 3 minutes, and it using that markdown file, it created all of these custom graphics, this layout. It went to their website, it grabbed supporting information. The markdown file actually had the recipe for the custom graphics. So these are all custom graphics created using a brand style that I have defined for myself.
That's incredible.
I mean, again, I would never in my entire life be able to create a presentation that looked this nice, much less to be able to do that in 5 minutes. I want to show you one other super quick example. I don't want Tony and the gang to get left out here. So what I'd like to do is, now, Lori, I'm taking a sabbatical, and I'm going to go work for Tony for a few minutes.
Love it.
But the power of AI lets me do that. So what I've done here is I have dropped, Tony had provided for me some kind of marketing materials that they're utilizing in their business. And all it is a summary of the type of work that they do. There's some AI capabilities in the PDF document. There's some non-AI capabilities in the PDF document. And again, I've just said, hey, I work in sales and I want to create a pitch deck for CIOs. CIOs are super busy. I want the presentation to be super duper tight. I want it to be short, sweet, and kind of to the point. And I want the output to be in a markdown file. And then I've also told it, because I'm on the under 20 slides tier, that I want it to be under 15 slides. So I hit the button, and now it's going to kind of go do its magic. And through the power of technology, it's going to create a markdown file for me. So it's doing all of its research. It's finding all about Clarus. It's looking at that PDF file that I had attached to it. And in just a moment, I'm going to get this markdown file. That again, you can use a lot of different tools. You can open it up in Notepad. I have Cursors, the tool that I use to look at markdown files, and it's going to go do its thing. So now I'm going to come over here to Gamma. I'm going to create a new Gamma. Again, I'm going to paste in plain text. So I'm going to hit paste in plain text. For my presentation, I'm going to do traditional. I'm going to paste in my card file. I'm going to create from an outline. I'm going to continue to the prompt editor. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something slightly different over here. I'm going to pick a different theme. So I'm going to go from a standard theme to, I'm going to go into, we're going to pick, we'll pick this one here. I'm going to do illustrative. I'm going to go grab a style image. Let's see. I'm going to add a reference. I'm going to do that. I'm going to give it a reference. I'm going to hit generate. And then what's going to happen over here is, after I've hit generate, doing all of that, I have this beautiful deck here. Again, all AI generated graphs. I've used a style image to seed it with. I've used the markdown file as the source. And again, it's done the same thing. It's used all of that content to create this custom graphics in this beautiful style here that is suitable for framing.
Wow.
That looks better than mine.
So
All right,
that's
impressive.
Stop presenting, and I'll shoot it back over to Greg.
All right, guys. Now we're going to go into Claude and Claude Cowork in particular. If you're not familiar with Claude, it's a competitor to ChatGPT, but it's designed far more for business. And you need to have a paid plan. I think it's $17 a month for this plan, to be able to use the desktop version with Cowork, what's called Cowork. Trust me, it is worth every penny and more. You will find out that as you start to build this, that you'll go to the $100 plan very quickly if you start to use it the way that we're doing it. Now, it's important for me. I'm going to pull something over in front of you just to give you a concept of things. In Claude nature, they have these things called plugins. And Cowork, there's a thing called plugins. Plugins are the equivalent of saying, hey, you run a company and you have a department. So you have plugins that are departments: marketing, finance, HR, legal. The thing that the stock market dropped by like 800 points one day is because they released a legal plugin. We ran one of our previous contracts through it, and it found 30 things that were wrong with our contract that we did wrong when we did that. Skills, however, are the tasks or the people in those departments. So when you think of a product release, you've got a skill that somebody's got to do the press release. Somebody's got to build the website for that. Somebody's got to build the product itself. You've got to have the marketing and social media things. So those are all skills. And then you have connectors, which are really your external resources. Those are your consultants, those folks, etc. Folks like you'd hire IHL or Digital Wave or Clarus into the team, and you kind of connect to that in the old thing. Well, here in this case, it's your email. It's things like Slack. You can use Zapier, Make.com, all these automation tools, and you can connect to just about anything through that process. So I want to walk you through a couple of these things for fun. So how do you build a skill, or what is a skill? So when you go into customized skills, these are the ones that are just built in as plugins. So when you go to sales, they give you these plugins: account research, call preparation, competitive intelligence, create an asset, daily briefing, craft outreach there for sales. Okay. Or marketing, you get your brand voice, competitive analysis, content creation, performance, etc. One of the first things I recommend you do is upload about 10 things that you have written, and you create your own style of writing. And now you can do that in chat. You can do that for free in the chat interface with that. You literally just go here under chat and you go use style, and you say, I've got an IHL storyteller style, and you go, I want to create and edit my own style, and you create your style and you upload the writing style and it writes like you. You can do that one for free.
Amazing.
But when you go into Cowork and you can build these skills here, we're going to build a skill, as I mentioned before. We built one for Joanna. So if I go back to Joanna Wiebe, I ran this here and I created this thing right here for a skill. I literally copied and pasted that, and I got to get back in here. I got a limited screen material. I literally pasted that right in here. So we're going to create a Paul Lipsky skill. Okay. So we're going to go in here, and this is how to do videos. I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to go back to Claude, and I'm going to say, I want to create a skill and I want to write the skill instructions. And I'm just going to go say I'm just going to call it Paul J. Lip skill. You are an expert at video scripts for YouTube. And that's a tool called Whisper. Highly recommend that tool for you as well. I dumped that in here. Oh gosh, I got to take out skills. I've got too many skills. Wouldn't it be Murphy? Wouldn't it be just Murphy? All my skills in here. Let me go in and take something out. I'm going to take this out.
Of what the poly market was on when Greg would run out of skills.
We just hit it. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go to skills. I'm going to add a skill. Write this thing. We're going to call it Paul. I'm just going to call it Paul, and I'm just going to say Paul again here. I'm going to type it in here. Now I'm going to create the skill, and it's going out and it created a skill called Paul. Now, how do I use that? Well, I can go right into Cowork, and I'm going to put it in my brain here. And I'll explain that in a second. And I'm just going to say, I can just say, use my to create. What am I doing? I just showed you how to do this. To create a web script for a YouTube video that I can use to show off Claude Cowork. Okay. And now we have just invoked that skill, and I can just say that, hey, go do that. Let's do this. Since I was talking and stuff at the same time. Okay. The cool thing about Cowork, unlike what you can do with other interfaces, you don't have to sit here and wait for it. You're going to go do other things now. So as I mentioned, I put the Joanna Wiebe skill in. When we're done with what Paul does, I can just tell Joanna to deal with it and say, make this better. Okay. So it's running that one right there. But I want to show you something that's real practical. And I've run all these things already. So I'm going to say, hey, I have connected my Notion notes to this. So I had a vendor call, or I had a call with a company, and I want to turn that into a proposal. Okay, so I just say, use my ABC company notes from Notion and my IHL proposal skill to develop the initial proposal for IHL services, blah, 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 blah. And boom, it goes through and it runs and it does all that. And the output is this. And of course, there it is. There's my output in terms of the proposal. All the different options that we talked about from beginning to end, just going from bottom to higher prices as we went about doing that. Okay. So I had created a proposal skill from that. Now let me do it and say, you know what? I went to Zebra Zone. And I think that's the important thing about AI right now, and that nobody tells you. About 80% of what you do with AI is things you never could do before that you've always wanted to do. It's not necessarily replacing people or taking stuff away. That is the biggest lie out there, as these companies are letting people go. They're just cleaning house from stuff they overhired for during COVID. It's the stuff you never could do before. And our competitors, RSR, was always much better at going to events and writing up their reports after that. And we're sitting there going, gosh, we go to all these events and we never do our clients justice and being able to provide an output report of what we learned from that. Well, now all I do is I say, go into my Zebra Zone event in Notion, write a blog about RFID specifically, and all I got to do is hit this, and boom, there's the blog, and I can open that. I can open that in Word, and it's over here on the other screen now. And it is now augmented with our data as well that supports whatever they said. So here's the top 5 things about RFID that they found. And literally it writes the blog for what we did, but it's got access to IHL research because I built the second brain to do that. So once again, the plugins are your departments, skills are the individual tasks that go into play there. So I've shown you how to do all that stuff. Well, let me show you the real thing that differentiates people when they do this. And we're not even going to get into Claude and Excel. Jerry can show you stories of what he's doing with that, which are insane. They've got plugins that go right into Excel for things. But what I'm going to show you is using a tool called Obsidian, which is a free tool. And all Obsidian does is it allows you to see markdown files and structures of things. So how you define your brain is you have one parent directory. You probably have that already. Like in IHL, we have this thing called zero-sales information, and everything trees off of that we share with everybody within the company. Well, you set that up, you set something like that up as your brain, whatever that parent directory is. And then the best and smartest thing to do is you go into Claude and you say, I would like you to interview me because I want you to become my personal assistant. And as part of that, it says, what are your personal, where do you work, what kind of job do you have, etc. And it starts building the subdirectories underneath each one of those things. But it creates a file called CLAUDE.md at the parent level. This is your air traffic control. Okay. And it's literally, it goes through and it writes this whole thing, but I just want to go to the bottom because it goes literally every directory, subdirectory, it tells what it is. So the first thing that Claude reads Cowork reads whenever I ask it anything is go through and figure out what subdirectories do I need to be working in. And it can be multiple ones that it's working in here. And if you create a skill, that is usually embedded in the skill itself as to which thing it's going to do. So in there, you also have at the top level, which is the system level, you've got your contacts, your key contacts and their contact information, key clients. And I got to skip through all that real quick, brothers and sisters and what their phone numbers and emails are. But you get a history and you set up in Claude. Every time I use Claude, I want you to update what we did and put it in the history and mark the date that we did that. And what did we do? Okay. And what are the keywords that I can search for to find that information there? But it also creates a memory file here. And that memory file builds on itself as you go, and it goes through and it starts learning more and more things about you. The beauty of Obsidian is I can go back and forth between these things like super fast without having to open up another app. You get your style guide, you get your schedule. When are you working? What's the main things on your schedule? But then you have subdirectories. So this is IHL. So these are my blogs, trade shows, and events. But I've got a CLAUDE.md for under IHL. So this is IHL and everything about IHL and what we offer and all our solutions are there. But I've got this Just Ask Greg thing now, and there's a CLAUDE.md about that. We've got Retail ROI. The charity has its own Claude thing, and we have our major events, March Gladness and Donors and Super Saturday, and it keeps track of all that. I've created a thing called AI for Nonprofits during the ice storm a couple weeks ago. I realized that there was no AI for nonprofits on LinkedIn newsletter, so I created one. I made a typo, and at 5 o'clock in the morning, I had 8 subscribers. By the time I fixed the typo, and I said, hey, there may be something here. So we created an entire website called AI for Nonprofits to help nonprofits. Our research, this has all our research reports underneath. So I can pull this data into anything that I'm doing at any time for stuff there. I've got my daily. One of the best things is you can just tell this. And if you go back to Claude, you have the ability to schedule functions. Well, I've got functions that does a daily briefing. It goes out to my Outlook calendar. It researches the people I'm meeting with and brings back notes about them. All of that's there. It updates the pipeline. It goes into my Notion notes and pulls in the tasks and stuff that are related to what we have for call. All of that stuff is built on this second brain that you can see easiest through Obsidian here. Okay. So once again, at the top level, if you were to look at this, if I was to go over here in the Finder, and I did it this way, it's just called IHL Brain. Okay. So I've got the IHL Brain here. And as long as you're working inside of this, the memory is always improving. And I'm just going to show you one thing that just blew my mind yesterday. is I literally said, you know what, I'm getting to that age where I might need to write a book. Okay, now that you know what you know about me after we've worked 3 weeks together here on this, what do you recommend? And it says, great question. He says, well, you could do this commerce with compassion type thing. It gave me this where, a straight retail book on AI, the data behind compassion in the numbers, et cetera. And it goes through pros and cons of each of them. Like it knows me. Do you want to do a spiritual book? He said, yeah, there's got John Maxwell's got that and all that sort of stuff. Bottom line, he says, basically, you can write this, but concept 3, what's it say? It basically says, this is the book that only you can write. Now, whether there's a market for that book, who knows? But the crossover from faith to charity to business and leading an industry for an industry charity on that's the only book that you can write. It did that on its own. If you look at, I literally just said, I'm thinking about writing a book. What do you know about me? Give me pros and cons. And it gave me that. One of the most powerful things you can do, and I know we're running out of time, is ask it, how can we work better together? And it literally will give you 10 ideas of how we could build a skill to do this. We could build a skill to do that. We could do the whole thing. You could customize all the plugins, those standard plugins, and you can update every one of those sub plugins with your specific things. So that when you have a product release, all you have to do is say, okay, use this plugin, and all of that content, the social media content gets pushed. The marketing content, the podcast scripts, all of that stuff gets automatically produced. This is incredibly powerful. And if you do it in Claude, okay, and Tom just jumped in here. When you do it in Claude, in your chat, and I appreciate it, Tom, you are doing it securely. So you have the ability now to do what OpenClaw and all these other things we're doing that are a security nightmare. This is all within the structure of your machine, your stuff. It's not doing anything that you're not giving it approval to do on your machine. And that data stays within you there. So, and you're asking about security. There are enhancements, Tom. I'll just do this as the first question. Okay, that came across here as we go into the Q&A, and now's a good time, guys, to ask Q&A. But all of this stuff is in the cheat sheets. Carl has dropped those links into that. You can pull those cheat sheets. I'm going to go back to the slide deck and bring that over. Just a reminder, guys, and here's a couple slides that kind of show you plugins are your departments, skills are the people, connectors are your outside resources that you want to connect into your thing, and then you have this top line thing that always updates your history, your memory. You tell it to always update your history and your memory file every time you do something in it, and it gets to be this incredible thing. But Tom asked a question on security, and so you can add your questions here in the chat. Tom, it's funny. Claude has introduced a new feature every single day for the last 9 days, and they just created a thing today that literally says, when Claude does something outside of your approval range, or wants to do something outside the approval range, it actually spins up another LLM to look at what it's asking to do, to approve it or not. And that LLM prevents prompt injections that will happen if you go to a rogue page. So let's say it says, oh, go to this Moltbook skills directory and download this skill. And all of a sudden, this other LLM goes, nope.
Not going to do it.
You're going to get a virus, and it's going to look at things before it ever gets back to what you're saying. So it's going to actually go to that LLM goes out and looks at that skill for you, and then brings back a result that says whether or not that's good or not for you. It's much more thorough. The security pieces are built in. This is the way, in my mind, Microsoft's, I'm drawing a blank here.
Copilot.
This is what Copilot was supposed to be. I was one of the first people to buy Copilot, paid the $400 up front, and never got the productivity. I just couldn't figure out how to do all the custom things in it. Claude is doing what that's supposed to be. And when you took the Claude plugin into Excel and into PowerPoint, you can do all these things and connect to all of your resources the way you want to work. You can customize this exactly like how you want to work and how your company works. And it's extremely powerful when you take that directory structure as it goes through. A question, Michael? Yeah.
I was just adding something. That wasn't a question. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, that's true. If you're on the free version, your information's being used by rote generally. You can go into Claude and turn that off. But if you got the paid version, you can turn it off in every one of them, whether it's Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT. You can also take your entire memory from ChatGPT and import it into Claude if you wanted to go to Claude for that. That's a biggie. Other
Wow.
questions anybody have? Thanks for hanging with us for an hour and a half. Very good. On the paid version, Jerry, that question there, they now in Claude Code has an auto mode where you can tell it to, unless you're taking an external instruction, you can let it do everything that is wanting to do internal on your system. So any questions for Lori or Tony? Sorry, we didn't even put in any canned questions because we thought there'd be plenty.
I have a question for you, Greg. How do you keep up?
I don't have a life. I don't watch TV. I couldn't tell you.
He doesn't sleep.
The only TV show that I have watched is the Jennifer Garner one. There with I forget. I don't even know what he said. Last thing he told us. That one on that's on Apple TV. I don't watch TV. I watch YouTube, and I just watch all these guys, and it's crazy how fast there are. And I think Joe said we need a daily one. There's two I'd recommend, Joe. There's one is the AI. Let me tell you the AI Daily Brief is a good one, and there are two guys on YouTube, and I'll pull it up on these two guys right here, Limitless Podcast. These two guys do a daily kind of what's going on in the news podcast. It's 25 minutes, and you can go through all that stuff. They're not as up to speed as like several of these guys. Now, in the packet is a list for whether it's NotebookLM, Cowork, or Gamma, or whatever. There are a list of people on YouTube to follow that did a lot better job than I did at explaining this stuff. Paul Lipsky, as I mentioned, let's see here. Blazing Zebra is the only one I pay for all of his stuff. Casey is fabulous. I pay the $7 a month for all of his. He gives out a cheat sheet for every one of his videos, and they are fabulous. This literally is this is him doing Cowork here, Claude skills, all those sort of things. I created a notebook for them. One more thing on the notebook things in Gemini, you are not limited to one notebook. So if you go in here and you say, you know what, I've got an Elon Musk, and I've got but I could say, you know what, I want Joanna, Paul, and Nate. Okay. And these guys, I want these 4 people to comment on my idea. But you could do Elon Musk, Tony Robbins, and who's the sales guy? Alex Hormozy and everybody. You can have them critique your idea, your business plan, your charity, etc. One of the most fun things I've been able to do with Claude and Claude Cowork is we created for charities a grant skill, and it will automatically take your details and fill in the grants so that you can send in the grants faster. That's a huge one. So
you're like a kid in the candy store.
You know, I studied this 40 years ago, Lori.
Same here.
And it was like when ChatGPT came out, I was like, they did it. You know, so I am. I don't sleep much. It's pretty sad.
I love it.
But hey, well, once again, hey guys, just want to thank Digital Wave and Clarus for sponsoring, guys. I hope this was beneficial to you. This is new for us. We'll send out a request for feedback on this sort of thing. Should we do it again? Those are the IHL contacts in the deck already. We had Lori and Tony and Michael's contact information. And with that, enjoy opening day for baseball. The slides, the recording, all that stuff will be up there. The recording in about 2 hours. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Good to see you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.